Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to Harping on Rugby, where with the help of some fellow fans, I get the chance to harp on what's going on with Leinster, Ireland, and the wider rugby world. Joining me to help me finally bring season 5 of our humble podcast to a close is someone who may have finished last in our Super Brew this season again, but is definitely firmly in the gold medal position when it comes to pod appearances, this being his 89th. A warm welcome to Mr. Neil Keego KEEGAN.
Wow. Can I just make a plea to everyone? Please join the Fantasy Rugby League next year. I can't keep that jersey in my house. But yes, good to see you. Hope the summer is going well so far.
Yeah, so far so good. Been taking in the Olympics, doing the usual thing, pretending I know all about 1,000 different sports, which I only watch once every 4 years. But sure, that's usually how it goes. Now, listen, what we want to do here now. I look back at the date and our season 5 of our podcast. I spoke to yourself in what we call the premiere, looking ahead to the season. I checked the date of it. That was July 31st, 2023. And it is now, as we're recording, it's now August the 1st. And that's how long this goddamn season has been. It's been crazy. It's literally a calendar year. But so, the best way to have a finale pod is to maybe, look back over the year and see what we got out of it. But we're going to talk about Leinster. We're going to talk about Ireland in general. It says, but first of all, I just want to make just one point when we look back at the season. A lot of people, we come out of a match when Leinster's won. Leinster may have won 45-0 or whatever it is. And then someone says, but we gave away a penalty in the second half or something like that. And their first thing is negative. And the first thing we say is negative. So before we talk about the season, and there were disappointments, there's no question. There's disappointments for Leinster. There's disappointments for Ireland, disappointments that we'd all seen before. Things, little boxes that we wanted ticking that were desperate to get ticked and came close to getting ticked but didn't. And we'll talk about them. But as a starting point, just want to make it clear that in this last season, the Irish men won the Six Nations, and that's a good thing. It's like with all the competition stopping and starting, and it was way back in March and whatever, and at the end of the season, but that is the biggest. I mean, isn't that the focus of the season as it is?
It shows how far we've come, Jeff, and you kind of mentioned it there at the beginning. We've been through tough times, we've been through great times, and we're kind of in the in between times. But it all comes down to Six Nations was won. How many do we have in the trophy cabinet since day one? How many do we have? Not many. So it is something to celebrate. And I think when you look at what's happening around the Six Nations in terms of the other teams, look what England are doing. Everyone is stepping up. Everyone is playing well. And for us to come out on top in a very tough competition was massive. It's a beautiful thing that we're in a position where that's almost forgotten about, but we can't allow it to be forgotten.
No, I mean, I suppose one of the things to blame for that is podcasts like this, which look each week, every week at the latest game and the latest performance, and all the attention is put on what we've done recently and what's going on right now. So I suppose, but it's important to look back. We enjoy success. Look, we're talking in the middle of the Olympics. There's medals coming in from all angles for Ireland, and that's brilliant. And we enjoy watching it. And so we mustn't forget. So I think I just wanted to put it at the start that at the end of a season, the most important competition, we would argue, maybe, I know the World Cup as well, but usually of the regular season, Ireland won it again. And we'll put that at the start and we'll critique it later. Okay. So that's all I wanted to say there. Okay. Listen, let's start with Leinster. It was, all the talk of when we were going into any season now, it's all about that fifth star, isn't it? That's what we're saying. They're the words, fifth star. That's our focus. The problem with that goal is that the fifth star can't really be won until May. So the season starts in September. So you've got to get through all that season, whatever. And then you got the URC as well. That's something we haven't won yet at all since they switched to the format. So it was a long campaign. Didn't go as the regular season in the URC didn't go as well as it had the previous season. But we still got into the playoffs. And of course, we'll start with the URC first. Didn't quite get there. And actually, it turned out the same as it had the previous two seasons. We went out in the semifinal stages. What did you make of it?
Well, here's the thing: when you're chasing all of these things, you put yourself in a position for heartbreak. And being a professional and showing the mentality between the ears is getting yourself in a position to do that again and again, knowing that the heartbreak could be there. It's a point away, it's 2 points away, it's a semi-final away. And the looking at the positivity of the whole thing, Leinster will continue to put themselves in that position. And that takes a lot more guts than a lot of other teams. They don't have it. And that's why, we have a bit of ribbing with other teams or whatever. At the end of the day, they would not be able to get through what Leinster are getting through. When it's elite sport at the top level in a semi-final or a final, it's always going to be close. It's very rare. You look at the Olympics, it's very rare that a final in the Olympics is going to be a landslide. It almost never happens. And so when you get to a Heineken final or a semi-final of any competition, it's always going to be close. And when it's close, you're going to get your heart broken if it goes the wrong way. Leinster have repeatedly gotten themselves into that position to take the shot. And that to me is the most important and positive part of this. It'd be far easier for us, for Hairlines, for Hearts, if Leinster went out in the group stages. It would be far easier. There are other teams who go out in the group stages or the quarters on a regular basis, and they're happy with that. That's fine for them. For Leinster to repeatedly put themselves in that position, knowing what can happen, it shows the strength of them. You look at Rory McIlroy in golf; sometimes it doesn't go for him. You look at other sports, but Leinster will repeatedly do that, and they will fight for that fifth star or that URC or whatever it is. But when you get there, when you're in that position, you may get your heart broken. So I think it's a great sign that they repeatedly do that. It's tough on supporters. It's easy for people who don't make it to fling what at those people, at that team. When in any sport, people will talk down on people who nearly achieve what they can't. And so we all had our heart broken again this year. But listen, the lads are going to go for it again. There's been a lot of changes in the team. I think there's certain positional situations that need to be decided on. But overall, I will take that team getting to a final and breaking our hearts and breaking their hearts more than ours every year, and I'll support them all the way through.
Yeah, I mean, it's the way the season goes. It's about the journey just about as much as it is the destination when it gets to May. But I suppose the one of the most important reasons that the likes of you and I would have discussions like this is that when Leinster in particular get knocked out in May, everyone else comes up with reasons as to what it is and why it happens. And one of the things they always say is like, well, they didn't send a strong team to South Africa. And that in turn affected their seeding. That's why they ended up with an away semifinal. Now, those are all true, but they don't exist in a vacuum. Because generally, whenever we've had our trip to South Africa, it's always right after the Six Nations.
Yeah.
Which again we won. So it's almost impossible. Like those same people who give those critiques from outside Leinster, they're the same ones who give out that Leinster make up most of the Irish team. Yeah. But because we do have so many players in the Irish team, they by definition you're not going to send them. You're going to give them those weeks off. And just to get ahead of ourselves, before we're going to talk about next season in a few weeks, but when it comes to next season, our trip to South Africa is again right after the 2025 Six Nations. So we're going to be in that boat. We're all going to be talking about it. This is my prediction. Everyone's going to be saying, oh, Leinster sending another weak team to South Africa. It's going to all happen again at the end of next March. But the fact of the matter is that it's good for the league overall that it's competitive. And I guarantee, with all the success that the URC have had attendance-wise, if Leinster had won all three of these competitions, it'd be great for us. We'd be having a great crack altogether. But nobody else would like the league. There was the complaint about the league before we let the South African teams in that Leinster were winning it all the time. So I suppose it's a case of which way you want it. But like you say, from Leinster's point of view, we wanted the competitiveness. We wanted to play these South African teams, and it's also good for the league that Glasgow won it as well, because the Irish South African rivalry. If it was just that, and the other countries would be going, well, we're not getting a look in. So I suppose overall, from the league's point of view, it's been going well.
Yeah, 100%. I think the thing we all need to remember is the game is easy from the couch. Everything is easy the Monday morning after the weekend. There's a huge amount of team management that goes into managing that Leinster squad. However many players played last season, 50 plus. And as you say, it makes up the majority of the big jerseys are from Leinster. That happened back in the day with Munster. It was it always works its way around. But the thing I try and switch off social media after, whether it's a blue jersey or a green jersey. I try. It's very difficult not to bite back, but I think the thing we all need to remember, and there's a bit of slagging back and forth, but the game is easy from the couch. The game is easy from the stands, but there's a reason why we pay for the jerseys. We say it all the time. There's a reason we pay for the jerseys, and we pay 90 quid for player fit. We shouldn't be wearing player fit. They wear player fit, okay? And so there's a little bit of we've got to be grown-ups here. Social media is a problem for everything, but we've got to be grown-ups here. When you put yourself in the shop window to compete for a trophy, whether it's the under 10s or Leinster or Ireland, it's going to be tough. You will get your heart broken from time to time. It happened to Munster back in the day, happening to Leinster right now. When that breakthrough does happen, and it will happen, it makes the celebration even bigger. And then it's a landslide from there. Once that duck is gone, the glass ceiling's gone or whatever, everything is open from that point on. So that's why we're here. That's why we show up. That's why we're going to Croker next year, next season. We're going to be there until we hit that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th star.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, speaking of the star, I mean, we're talking about the URC, of course, we're just quickly on the Champions Cup as well. That was going really well. And I think over the past couple of seasons, I think, if you take out the last few minutes of the finals aside, I mean, Leinster have been laser focused. You can't really doubt our commitment to the competition, because even in the pool stages, which everyone complains about the format and stuff, and there's fewer matches, but even with those fewer matches, Leinster have gotten themselves. They have found a way to raise their game for those matches and gotten themselves all the way to the final. But of course, there's not just us playing the game, and it's not about us winning. This isn't a movie where we must be the win. We're the good guys. There's other great teams out there too. We've had La Rochelle over the past couple of years, and this year we were kind of focused on them getting that monkey off our backs, and we did it not once but twice. Two really good performances where we put them to the sword on their patch and ours, and so there was that extra element as well. Got us to the final, but then who do we run into? Mr. DuPont and his boys, and they won the day. And listen, a drop goal gone a little bit more to the right, and it would have been a different story. We'd be having a different conversation. But listen, it was disappointing, but there's plenty of hope that we'll get there once again.
100%. And we're talking about La Rochelle being a monkey. Leinster are a lot of teams monkeys. And so, that changes the mentality of everyone. Knows that if you beat Leinster, you're very close to a trophy. We thought that about La Rochelle, and then
to lose
come along. And as you said, just a quick shout out to the Leroy D. Moore and Kieran Frawley over the last 4 months. Took it upon himself. What's the stat? Michael Jordan says he's made 4 shots in the last before the buzzer, something like that. He phrased it better than I did, obviously. But Frawley called it on himself twice. Actually, the one to beat South Africa was not as good as the kick in the Heineken final, technique-wise, but he called it on himself. The team trusted him to do it, which is, that'll pay dividends down the line. But I think, when you look at all the things around these finals, like La Rochelle was 2 points in 2 years.
To lose.
There was a kick of a ball in the difference. This is what the game is. This is what we relish, and this is what other teams will shy away from, whether they want to say it out loud or not. In here, they don't want that. Whereas Leinster are repeatedly putting themselves in there to kind of go, right, this is going to hurt. This is going to be damaging. But we want to go in there. We want to knock on that door continuously. And that's the beautiful part of the game. Yeah, we're all heartbroken and all that sort of stuff. The amazing, to quote one of my old favorite wrestlers, testicular fortitude of that team to continuously do it is magical. And we won't appreciate it until those extra stars come on.
Yeah, I mean, and with those standards now, like it's practically trophy or nothing when it comes to considerable success. That means next season it's going to be the same again. We're whatever happens between now and May, the season won't be judged until we get to May. We get into finals and see what happens there. But still, like you say, everything that we've seen up to now gives you confidence that they can perform at those levels to at least get to there, and then we'll see what happens. And they've got new players coming in. There's nice changes, nice positions. Jordy Barrett, all this new movement in the team, and we'll see what happens. So listen, there is plenty to look forward to, despite the disappointments. Well, you were talking about Kieran Frawley there,
Yep.
and let's use that to move into the Ireland team and their successes now. Obviously, first we can't. I say we recorded the premiere of this pod back in July 31st. It was a week before our opening warm up match for the World Cup, and we were all, it was all hype, it was all positive, it was all good vibes. You and I listened back to that pod. You and I were talking about how we were going to be playing. Johnny Sexton had literally just gotten his ban, and he was out for those matches. We were talking about who might replace him and what might go on and stuff. But listen, the World Cup went the way it did. We had the good win over South Africa. Obviously, the disappointment against New Zealand and the quarterfinals again. All that yada yada. I mean, just a quick summary of how that memory sticks now.
They're very similar stories. They're very similar situations when, it's not a lack of skill, it's not a lack of ability, it's not a lack of brainwave activity. It is just on the day you go up against a team that just has maybe that 4 or 5% more. New Zealand, that was their best performance of that year, that calendar year, and they knew they had to do it. Toulon and the Heineken, that was their best performance of the year, and they knew they had to do it. Now, that's not a moral victory or anything like that, but it shows that we are there. We should be at the top table, and when you are right there, you're going to be close. It just so happens that we have this thing about quarterfinals, but it is there until it's not. And the way the lads have dealt with it, the way they performed in South Africa, it kind of shows that they're built of different metal. They're built differently when they all get together. And you look at even team selection in South Africa, which we'll talk about in a sec, but like how that changes when nothing really changes on the pitch is amazing. So yeah, World Cup, in retrospect, not as bad as the day after, but look, I've no doubt that we'll get there. That's the beauty of it is I have no doubt that we will get to a World Cup and there'll be an open top bus down Donnybrook Main Street.
Absolutely. And of course, from there, the team had to pick themselves up and get into another Six Nations campaign.
Yep.
They were Grand Slam champions. It's very difficult to do that competition back to back, mostly because the fixtures are reversed for the following season. And what a start we needed. We had to go to France. What was it, Marseille? They played there.
Yep.
It was
yep.
And they had to go there and play France, who were themselves had World Cup disappointment to get over, quarterfinal themselves, and that was on their own patch.
Yep.
So they had a lot to prove, and so we were very nervous going into that one, and we thought that might set the tone for some disappointment for that campaign. But that actually went really well.
100%, and I think that's what we needed. We needed to go away. As loud as we can get in the Aviva, regardless of what people say in the papers, we needed to go away and have our backs up against the wall a wee bit and kind of feel that. I don't know whether it's danger or whatever it is, but it's not fear, but it might be danger. They're slightly different. But to walk in there and perform like they did, and get the result they did, forgetting about the rest of the tournament for the other teams. First game out, no one knew what France were going to do. And we went there and well worth that victory.
Hi there. This is where I have to explain that I made a bit of a balls of recording this podcast. When myself and Keego were chatting from this point, we went on to harp about Ireland's overall season, the World Cup, Six Nations, South African series. But I got interrupted here at home. Now, to be fair to my 9-year-old daughter, it was an emergency to her, but thankfully it wasn't really. And having hit the pause button while she explained her crisis, I then forgot to hit record again and didn't realize this until about an hour later. So being the last part of the season, I really don't see the point of going back and recording it again. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks once again to Keego for joining us today and, of course, throughout the season. Check out his website, keegolaughs.com, for his latest stand-up gigs. The links, as ever, are in the program notes. And thanks to you all for your support throughout the season as well. All the commenting, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Long may it continue. And I look forward to next season. Sorry again for the shorter video than we intended, but that's it for season 5 of our pods. We're going to take a few weeks off from recording these, but do keep tabs on our YouTube channel. We're doing our 80+ column in video form there now. There's one we just recorded a couple of days ago back there in our feed, and we're going to keep them going until we return for our season 6 premiere around the end of August. when it all starts all over again. So in the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.